let's launch Unreal Engine 5 and we'll walk you through some of the basics and interface. So you click launch there. A vast majority of the time, Unreal Engine actually does take quite a bit to load up. Sometimes it takes me like 2 minutes if I have not opened the Epic Games launcher. So we'll just give this a bit. You should have an icon popping up like this or a banner. It's initializing, so you can just be patient. Another thing you can do to check if Unreal Engine is launching is to open your task manager. And you should have something like Unreal Editor in your apps, or if you see this icon, that means it is loading. That's one thing I do to make sure that I actually click launch. And we'll just give that some time to do its loading. The first time you load this, it might take a really long time because it's compiling a bunch of shaders, a bunch of settings, making sure it's optimizing itself and ready to go for future openings. Okay, right, so this is like a list of a bunch of my projects. So let's actually create our first project here. If you have previous projects in other versions, it will list the version here. Otherwise, if it's current version, it's going to list current. So let us make a new game. Let's click games on the left here, and let's start with a third-person template. Third-person pack. Let's click Blueprint. Blueprint is a visual scripting language, and C++ is a lot more advanced. Most of the coding / tutorials out there on YouTube actually use Blueprint, and that's highly recommended. So be sure you click desktop, maximum, starter content, yeah, why not? And let's name this the first UE5 project. You can also click the project location over here. I'm quite happy with that, so let's click create, and that should be loading up. Yet again. Alright, so now your first project has loaded up. It actually says file is out of date here, and if I would like to update it, let's just click update. I'm not sure why it's giving us that prompt, but apparently that solves something. Okay. So let's first start off with panning and moving. So if you hold right click on your mouse, you keep holding it, and then you move your mouse around, you'll be able to look around. Also, while you're holding right click on your mouse, you can then press WSAD, so you're like a flying camera in this case. Yeah, it's really simple. And if you want to speed up your camera speed, you can go over here to camera speed, and you can go really fast or really slow. 4 is kind of the medium that I kind of like. Okay, then the next part is support for low-end PCs. So right now my settings are at high actually. So you click scalability here, you can press any of these quality settings or tone down any of these settings. So let's actually click low here. So that'll bring it up to a 25% resolution, and let's click on playing the level. So here you got your play button or your Alt P. But one thing I like to do is to modify it to either be selected viewport or new editor window, but for now let's just click play, and you should be loading in the map. Great. So you'll now be able to walk around. This is your default template for your third person. So it's in lower quality right now, but you can even lower the quality a lot more. And once you're finished like playtesting, you can press the escape button on your keyboard to go back to editor mode. And another thing you can do is to set new editor window here. And you can get your own editor window, which is probably in 1280 x 720, which is 16:9, an aspect ratio that's really common in games or in videos. You can hit escape as well to get out of that. Okay, so let's scale this down. Oh, let's try cinematic just to show the difference in the play mode. Okay, Alt P in cinematic mode. You might be able to notice like a difference change in the quality. Mine's a bit slow because I'm recording at the same time, but usually this runs 60 FPS for me. Okay. You can, like, the lowest, absolute lowest setting is like setting resolution scale to like 1% and everything to low. It will start to look like PS1 or Minecraft though if you do this. So if you're really desperate, that's something you can do. Oh, that didn't do it. That's strange. I mean, in Unreal Engine 4, like it legit looked like Minecraft, but maybe they just were more lenient on Unreal Engine 5. But yeah, be sure to use this if you're having any FPS issues. One thing you can also do is to go over here to the 3 lines in the circle and be sure to click show FPS, and you'll be able to get like your frames per minute per second counter. So 60 is a good number, 30 is good as well for your editor. That's something you can use to measure the performance. Okay, so for moving, rotating, and scaling, so I'm in the editor viewport now, and you can click on any of these, and like an arrow will pop up, and that's where you can like move the object left, right, or XYZ, up and down. You can also use this over here on the right to change its location or its rotation. Oh, that was really fast. Rotations anyway. You've also got your scale here. But if you want to scale it uniformly, be sure to click this lock here and then just increase the volume to scale it. But the hotkeys for this are press W to move, and it will give you the directional arrows, or you can press E on your keyboard to get the rotate icon popping up. Control Z to undo. R is to scale, so you'll have these cubes popping up, and you can scale in any direction that you'd like. Scale that up or down. One thing you can do to make it like scale slower or faster is you can go up to here and scale snap. So let's set it at 10. Actually, let's set it at like really low number, like this one. If you scale it, it will scale really slow. But if you scale it to like 1, that's gonna scale like super fast. Yeah, in those increments. And that's the same for the rotate as well, which is this one, the rotate speed, but also the snap size speed for the movement, so the grid icon. One thing you can do is press space as well. Keep pressing space to cycle between these 3 modes. You've also got this one over here to help you cycle between moving, rotating, and scaling. This over here on your top right is your world outliner. So this lists everything that's in your world right now. So right now we have the cube selected, the chamfer cube 2. But if we were to select chamfer cube, let's instead go to here, your gizmo. One thing you can do is press F on your keyboard to focus on that item. Conversely, you can click on anything in your world outliner, click that, and then press F to find out where it is. Right click WSAD to move around. I'm gonna want to find cube 4, so let's click that, press F, and this is cube 4. You can press G on your keyboard to toggle between game view and editor view, which doesn't do much in this context. Actually, it does. G. So right now I'm in editor mode. Over here, game view, and if I press G again, you enter game view. So game view is essentially what your player sees. This is more relevant in later stages of development when you have so many like boxes, collision boxes, debug checks placed around the level, and you kind of just want to hide them and see what the player sees in the actual level. You can just press G for game view or G again to enter editor mode. For saving, you can actually the next part I should explain is the content drawer. So this is over here at the bottom, so you can click that to pull up this content drawer, and your content drawer or your browser is essentially File Explorer. It's your Windows File Explorer but within Unreal Engine. So over here you have a bunch of folders, blueprints, maps. You can drag stuff in the world, so meshes. A mesh is like a 3D object. So pull up content drawer again, and you can just left click and drag this onto the world, and there you go, you got your cube. One shortcut for the content drawer is Control plus spacebar. It's listed there. Let's put in a cylinder actually, and let's make that really big, and maybe a little skinnier. Maybe in these 2 axes I scale it. I quite like that. Great. Another thing you can do is to add another content browser. So I've already added multiple content browsers here. You can click Window, and then Content Browser 3, and you can left click and drag this anywhere, but I prefer to have it onto here so it reminds you like the Chrome tabs. And yeah, this is just essentially your File Explorer. In the 3rd-person template, it comes with a bunch of various files you can play around with, like particles. Let's hop out of that. And to save, it's the classic Control S. One thing you can also do is pull up your content drawer and click Save All here. So this saves everything that you touch in a level. I highly recommend pressing Save All multiple times throughout your development, at least like maybe once every 30 minutes or once every milestone. So you can select all the content you want to save and just click Save Selected. Another thing is the undo/redo. So if you want to move things around, but you're like, actually I don't like those changes, press Ctrl Z or press Ctrl Y to redo those changes. This includes stuff like scale. So if you don't like it, Ctrl Z, but if you're like, wait, I like that, you press Ctrl Y. Okay, so let's open up the third person character template. So content drawer, let's go into content, third person blueprints, and let's open up blueprint third person character. So everything in Unreal Engine mostly is like blueprint based, so it's just a visual way of coding essentially. So let's double click, left click this, and it should boot up. And what I like to do is to drag these blueprints over to be like a tab like this, so you can kind of cycle through these things. Let me close Content Browser 3. Blueprint third person character. So here is some of the code attached to your player. So you got your look, your camera inputs, movement inputs, jump inputs. So that's your event graph. But you've also got something called a viewport, and that shows you what blueprint or actor that you're currently viewing. Since we clicked since we clicked third person character, that's what we see. And so this runs the code for your character here, the character you're playing, which is defined by this player start. This is where your character starts, and that's where it spawns the blueprint third person character. Yep, so with this third person character, you got your capsule component to detect like collisions. For example, if a player does melee and the sword hits within that space, you take damage. You got your mesh as well, which is the mannequin. You can even change like the mesh of this character, say like SKM Manny. It's loading right now, it might take a while actually, but let's wait for that. Great, so now you have like a buff version of your character, and you press Alt P or display one here. So I'm just gonna press Alt P because that's easier for me. And now your skeletal mesh change. You now have a buffier mannequin. But let's switch it back. Which one was it? Was it Quinn Simple? I think that's what we're using. Yeah. Cool. So now you got your Quinn Simple, Alt P, the more feminine mannequin. One thing that's attached to this, so this is like the outliner of what is contained within this blueprint. So it has your capsule, your arrow, your mesh, but also something called the camera boom and the follow camera. So that's the camera that you see once you play the game, and that's how you see things. One thing you can play around with here is the camera boom, then the socket offset. So if you increase some of these values here, oh, that's really far. Where'd my camera go? That's very far. Set this back to 0. Maybe I want my camera to be up more, so that's the blue arrow. So let's click camera boom again. Blue is this one here, this third value here, which is Z. So let's add to the socket offset, maybe value 50. Let's try 100 actually. Maybe we want it further away from the camera. So that'll be in the red arrow, so negative red. Socket offset X is, let's make it like -200. And that should modify the location of your camera in game. So if you notice now your camera is really far, that's something you can do to play with the camera. And yeah, there's a lot of bunch of other things you can edit here. You can even click on character movement and search walk over here. So that's like the details. Whatever you click, it has specific details within it. But this is character movement. I can keep scrolling down to find walk speed, but sometimes it's faster to use the search bar and type in what you were looking for. Okay, so max walk speed is 500 centimeters per second. Let's set this to an absurd value like 2000. If you press Alt P or play, you should be moving really fast. Yeah, that is super fast. You're like the Flash at this point. Or you can even set it like really slow. Let's be like turtle speed just for fun. 100. Walking speed. Yeah, we are a turtle now. Human turtle, mannequin turtle. Okay. Let me set this back to default value though. So if you don't know the default value, you can always click this arrow here to set this property to default value. Oh, it was 600 actually. That was 500. Anyway, yep, now we are back to normal speed. And that is pretty much the basics and the interface of Unreal Engine 5. I'm excited to see what you'll create in the future. And yeah, one thing that's important to mention is a good majority of my tutorials are in Unreal Engine 4, but this is Unreal Engine 5. Both Unreal Engine versions are very identical to each other, so it's okay if you're following an Unreal Engine 4 tutorial for Unreal Engine 5. You should not have any problems following those. UE5 actually only became publicly accessed like in the middle of my tutorial developing phase. But yeah, you'll be fine. See you next time.